So we've got some back and forth in the chat, pro Michigan, a little anti Michigan, and a little Notre Dame flavor. Um, and you would think that actually that they were more rival of Ohio State than Michigan. You know, what's been lost between the Notre Dame Michigan rivalry when we've got Notre Dame fans in here downing and piling on Ohio State and not Michigan. That doesn't make any sense to me. But maybe that rivalry's been on pause for so long that if you're under the age of, I don't know, 25, that
it's a shame, Mark. I grew up in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area, which is where my mother's from, and my dad's from Michigan, which is where the Michigan fandom comes into play. But I grew up, my whole family, I come from a family with a lot of Catholic background and Northern Indiana. Who else are you going to root for, right? So I always look forward to early September when Michigan and Notre Dame will get after it. It's a real shame that rivalry doesn't really exist right now. So yeah, maybe people have forgot. I grew up in the heat of it, right? In between Ann Arbor and South Bend, but it's one of the best in college football, and it's a shame that it's not on the schedule right now.
Yeah, that was always a game growing up that I had to watch. Michigan, Notre Dame, must see, had to watch it regardless. I think the last time they played was when Michigan took them to the woodshed in 19,
Yeah,
correct?
it was. Yeah, that was the return game of the home and home. And Michigan went to South Bend in 2018 and with Shea Patterson as their starting quarterback for the first time. And that offense just didn't really click. I mean, that was a good Michigan team that year. I mean, they went 10-3. They were top 4 most of the year after kind of rattling off some big wins, got smoked by Ohio State. But and then 2019, Michigan, returned the favor with a pretty big win in the big house, in the rain, under the lights. Very, very satisfying win. And I love that that's the last game that those two teams have played. I will say that, Mark. That's a nice way for me to end that series for the time being, a little hiatus with the way that Michigan just took it to them. So, and I see Michael is clearing the air here as well.
Yes, he is. So that does me good as a traditionalist, as a purist of the sport, to see that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. 45-14 comes to mind. It was a butt kicking that I did not see coming because the Notre Dame team was a good Notre Dame team.
Yeah, I think they won 10 games that year. I think they were, I want to say they were top 10, maybe top 5 at that point in the season in the rankings. And Michigan just got out to a big lead, and I'm sorry, not Tommy Reese, but Ian Book just couldn't get it going. I don't know. And they had a couple plays. I think one of their big tight ends had a touchdown, but otherwise it wasn't even really close. I think they scored late too to make it even closer than it was. I think it was 45-7 at one point, which, look, I got a lot of friends from Indiana. I was sending a lot of texts that night, Mark. It was a great time for me personally. So
gotta savor those times when they don't come around too often, when you can just completely annihilate a top 5 or 10 team in the country, and especially when they're a bitter rival.
Absolutely.
Yes, take advantage.